Hi, here we are stumbling into week 6. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas vacation and that you're ready to get started again in the new year. I went to California for Christmas to visit family. It was wonderful. It was sunny every day, which was a nice change from Vancouver. I did come back with a cold, however, so hopefully it won't get me too much under the weather. I've started reviewing your assignments from before Christmas from week 5, and so far they're good, and I hope you enjoyed writing them. This week will be different. It won't be so intellectually challenging or disturbing or disorienting if some of you found the last week to be that way. That was a pretty heavy duty week. This week we look at a lot of different authors and different takes and some practical applications of systems thinking. So I hope you enjoy this week as well. I'd like to encourage you to pause now at the beginning of week 6. We have 4 weeks to go in the course. Sometimes in the past, some of the participants in the course have had trouble re-engaging after the Christmas break. It's so intense going up to Christmas, and then there's this 2-week kind of relaxation period, and it's hard to get going again, get back into the intensity of the course. So I encourage you to really look in the mirror and say, okay, there's just 4 more weeks here. What do I want to do with it? And if you're feeling not quite up to speed, really grab yourself by the bootstraps and get going, get into it. Start the week early, get the readings done. I hope you've done some of the readings, excuse me, over Christmas. If you haven't, dig right in, especially the Meadows readings. Um, it's also a time for you to pause and reflect on your contributions to your team's discussion forums. I'm not tracking particularly closely how much each of you is doing. It's your responsibility, I feel, to keep track of yourself. So maybe just pause and go through, reflect backward, maybe go back and visit some of the weeks and just check up on what your actual contributions were. Do an empirical check of it to see whether you feel that you contributed enough posts. Remember, 3 substantial posts, and whether you feel that you really, in your post, struggled with the ideas that you reflected deeply, challenged your own certainties, your own understandings, that you engaged with your teammates so that you developed rich conversations back and forth, because that's the way to develop understanding. So just take this time and reflect. Okay, do I feel that what I've done so far is what I want to keep doing, or do I want to notch it up a little bit? So let's get into the material for this week. You'll be happy, perhaps, to know that this week isn't as mind-bogglingly challenging as week 5 was. So it gives you a chance to bring in some of what we looked at last week, ease off what some of you may think of as navel gazing, and look at some pragmatics. But be aware, as Meadows warns us, there's no way of using systems thinking to quote unquote control systems. This notion of information is power, knowledge is power, and so we can control systems. But rather, we come into relationship with complex systems. We dance with them. And in order to do that skillfully, we have to really practice being aware on as many levels as we can of our relationships with the world, with the relationships of the systems between each other and other systems. And that we give ourselves fully to this engagement, and that we allow ourselves to be receptive to feedback, to change. One of the things that's really hard is to let go of our sense of certainty. We're so educated in our culture to believe that our value is we're supposed to be experts. We're supposed to come across as knowing, all-knowing. And it's hard to let that go. It's hard for me in this course. You'll have seen in the office hours that there's some stuff that I don't understand. And it would be much easier for me to pretend to understand and to exclude the readings that I find really confusing. But that wouldn't be fair, I don't think, to you or to me, because I learn every year through conversations, through listening to what you think and what you have to say. And so this willingness to come into the world with a sort of naivete, a don't know mind of bare attention instead of a preconceived notion that we understand, but to be willing to admit, well, I don't know. I'm still looking. The world is really mysterious and uncertain. It's extremely complex. And so being willing to come with an empty cup and to, rather than a full cup, that we don't take our opinions so seriously. We don't hold so seriously to what we think we know. R.D. Laing, who is a psychotherapist, he's dead now, in his book Knots, wrote this really neat thing. He says, there is something I don't know that I'm supposed to know, but I don't know what it is I don't know that I'm supposed to know. And I feel I look stupid if I seem both to not know and to not know what it is that I don't know. Therefore, I pretend to know it. This is nerve-wracking, since I don't know what I must pretend to know. Therefore, I pretend to know everything. I feel you know what I'm supposed to know, but you can't tell me what it is, because you don't know that I don't know what it is. You may know what I don't know, but not that I don't know it. And I can't tell you, so you'll have to tell me everything. It's just kind of, one of those double binds that we get ourselves in sometimes. And so if we can admit that we don't know and we don't even know what we don't know, then we have more grounds for opening up the conversation. One of the things from my perspective that's important is to recognize that the most fundamental leverage point is within each one of us. As we change our outlooks on the world, as we let go of our certainty about our paradigms and are willing to change our paradigms, we change the systems that we're always already embedded in. We often think we have to go out into the world to do something, to change the world. But simply by changing ourselves, because we're always embedded in multiple systems, we change the world automatically. It's just the way it works. And one of the fundamental questions that I've been playing with for a while is this notion of activity. Meadows talks about forestry and this business of growth, that growth is a huge leverage point, but that everybody's pushing in the wrong direction, saying we need more and more growth, when the problem is the growth itself. And I expand that and say maybe it's activity, not just growth, but activity. We often think that we need to do more and more to fix the world, and everybody thinks that on all sides of issues. And so everybody is doing more and more, and there's more and more frantic human activity. We feel, well, if we don't do it, then they'll just run away with things. And this is one of those times of stepping back and taking a look and saying, really, I wonder, maybe what we need to do is less, and learn to feel fulfilled and rewarded and respected in life simply by being who we are, rather than having to do to accomplish all the time. Because in our culture, we've learned that respect is based and fulfillment is based and the meaning of life is based, and all those things are based on accomplishing, on doing. And so if we can both learn or explore the possibility in ourselves, I'm not saying you should agree, the possibility of simply finding meaning and fulfillment in being and life, and then model that all of us can take a step back and do a little bit less. I think that that's worth looking at. What else? Let's see. So I just think Meadows' discussion of letting go of paradigms is really quite fascinating. And transcending paradigms completely. So the additional readings are also fascinating. There's Davis Folger, which is good, and David Orr's. You may have read Meadows. You may have read a number of the previous, of the other readings as well previously in other courses or before Royal Roads. If you have, please don't skim them. I think given what we've come through in the systems course, it will be really worth your while to read the readings carefully again. It will deepen your understanding and refresh. So I encourage you, especially Meadows, to not skim it, but really dig into and contemplate what she's saying. If you have time to read the Oliver Sacks read, I just find it a really fascinating read. It doesn't entirely fit into the course, but I find it so fascinating that I offer it. So it's up to you, but it's great. Krippendorf and Lakoff, some of you have read those before. They have more to do with communication than education. Clark, Senjay, or I don't know if it's Seng or Senjay or Senj, and Joy Murray, they're all focused more on the education side of things. Murray applies some of Maturana's idea, particularly the multiverse, to the classroom. And Clark and Senjay are talking about education in general. Remember, on the team report, I'm not interested in a literature review. I've read this stuff. What I'm really interested in is how you weave the synopses and your team discussions of the major readings and the readings that you're including the synopses of, how you integrate your thoughts, your questioning, your conversation from the team into the team report. So that's what I'm really looking for, your own thinking. Some quotation is okay, some direct quotes, but not lengthy quotations. These are fairly short assignments. So use the word limit for bringing in your own thinking, how this stuff relates to your life and your questions, your thoughts about it. That's what is really interesting for me to read. So I know it's sometimes easier to just quote authors at length because they've said it so well, but what we're looking for is developing our own understanding and our own ability to communicate. Please stay to the length limits. I really appreciate that. So I think that's pretty much what I wanted to say. I hope you have a delightful week. I won't be with you too much in the forums. I'll be marking papers or reviewing papers this week. But I hope you have rich discussions. I'll nip in even if I don't comment. I'll try to visit and see what you're doing. And so I hope it's a really rewarding week for everyone. And